There are still too many visits in homes. That's why I'm announcing that starting next Saturday, there'll be a curfew.
Sorry, English?
Because it's 3:30 a.m. You're outside for curfew. How about you close your phone?
I'm so sorry.
We have to. We're not obligated. There's no legal obligations. What are you doing outside?
We're looking for police interactions.
No, you're not.
To
I don't
record
see
how the
people from
curfew is.
CBC or CTV outside.
We finally beat the Montreal police and their politically motivated curfew tickets, thanks to your generous donations at journalistdefensefund.com. In our country, freedom of expression is protected by our laws, whether or not we agree with the opinions expressed. Sydney Fizzard for Rebel News. Today, I'm proud to announce a personal victory in the courts of Quebec. After a 2-year legal battle, both tickets I received for doing my job, amounting to $3,100 in fines, have been dropped entirely. The Montreal police became politically driven in their use of COVID authority, but Justice Joanne White put them in their place, with a strong emphasis on the rights of journalists in Canada. Today, we look back at how the Montreal police tried to bully independent journalists with thousands of dollars in fines to hide Quebec's draconian COVID curfews, and the court ruling which now reveals just how political the Montreal police became during COVID-19. This is all thanks to those of you who donated in support of our independent journalism at journalistdefensefund.com. Montreal is known for its vibrant nightlife and endless parties, but as politicians in Canada began implementing COVID-19 measures, Quebec, like all other provinces, increasingly restricted social engagement.
I'm declaring a public health emergency of international concern over the global outbreak of novel coronavirus.
So I knew I'm asking a lot, not to travel anymore, make sure that they don't go to a show or a hockey game. It's a major change, I understand that, but the situation is very critical.
If I had an unlimited testing capacity, even you here would have been tested.
This also came with heavy police enforcement.
Pour une histoire de masque? Pour un masque, là!
On essaie de faire du travail, là.
Touche-moi
Non, mais sortez, là.
And dissenters were ridiculed by government-funded media.
We could bring it up. There you go. You can see just how many people flooded the streets of Montreal as those new numbers come out.
And restrictions kept getting worse.
Whoever you are, if you witness an infraction in a bar, in a restaurant, in a mall, anywhere, you have to call the police.
Police can now get a fast telewarrant. They can actually go in and break into a home of people having a party who are in violation of the COVID rules and fine them up to $1,000.
There are still too many visits in homes. That's why I'm announcing that starting next Saturday, there'll be a curfew.
Early 2021, barely a year after COVID began, from 9:30 p.m. to 5 a.m., if you were outside, police now assumed you guilty of violating curfew. They were imprisoning people in their own homes en masse. In failed attempts to evade curfew, couples would walk each other while wearing dog leashes. But more seriously, some would lose their lives, like one homeless man who froze to death hiding from police who continually ticketed the homeless people for breaking curfew. Life had come to a halt. The once lively nightlife in Quebec was now being forcibly emptied by the government, even in places like Gatineau, just a river away from Ottawa. One river difference between 9:30 curfew and no curfew. For those who did dare to go outside past their government bedtime, legal exemptions or otherwise, the streets were now under full police control. Our Rebel News reporter Yankee Pollock was at the heart of these curfews in the seemingly targeted neighborhood of Outremont in Montreal.
Can I ask you what you're doing
Yeah,
at this time of hour?
Yeah, we're media, we're out filming.
There's a reason why you are filming at you?
Yep, it's press. And thanks for Rebel News, Yankee Pollock and the other co-worker. As we really all love you, the whole team. We're looking forward for tomorrow at the big protest. Thank you so much.
You're wondering what's happening here?
Oh, media, we're media.
Okay, so you're allowed to be outside?
Yes, we are.
I need the permit to be outside.
What about you? Do you have your... Yeah, we all have.
Even if you had a legal exemption letter to be out past curfew, often you would be fined thousands of dollars regardless.
A big hand to the STVM of Montreal. Thank you for giving me the beautiful opportunity to give me a ticket. And with God's help, we're gonna fight it, and I hope everything's gonna be okay.
Luckily for Yankee and I, both times we were stopped together, officers acknowledged our media credentials.
Perfect, thank you. You too, stay safe.
Thank you very much.
Perfect, thank you so much. Have a nice day. Stay safe.
To see Yankees' relentless coverage of curfews night after night throughout the pandemic, go to MediaJuif.com.
What? I'm with Rebel News. I'm not Media Juif. Who are you? What's your name?
The very same night Yankee faced anti-Semitic remarks from Montreal police, I was walking the empty streets with a coworker.
Oh, there's no one here, so.
We had stumbled upon a house party being shut down, and this is when I met Detective Sergeant Collard.
Sorry, English.
Because it's 3:30 a.m. You're outside for curfew.
Yeah.
The journalists were just reporting we were there was a party.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have ID?
Yeah.
Okay, give me your ID. How about you close your phone?
This is our job. Sorry.
We have to do it. We're not obligated. There's no legal obligation.
I'm being paid to do this as a journalist.
So what are you doing outside?
We're looking for police interactions with the citizens.
Because it says here that under the law, you're allowed only to go from your home to your place of work.
Yeah, this is our work.
I would beg to differ.
In what sense? We're here to record how the curfew is.
CDC or CTV outside.
He made sure to put his mandated mask back on after going to his supervisor, while two more officers stood around until he could issue us $1,550 in tickets each.
I mean, we're the only ones out here, and we get pulled, I guess, aside by the cops. It's a weird feeling. And they were here to, go after some people for partying?
Fizzard. Oh, Fizzard. Thank you.
He held zero regard for our legitimate official exemption letters, stating our journalistic intentions. But that didn't stop us from going out again the very next night. This time, there were 4 of us.
Hey. What we're doing? We're filming you guys.
Why?
Because that's our job. We're media. We're filming.
Okay, I'm gonna take the picture.
Yeah, sure.
If you want to talk to our colleagues, we're gonna do our job that we're doing right now.
Go ahead. This is what's going on. We're getting a ticket. We saw the cops putting in a kid in the back of the police car. We're being out during the curfew.
So these are your documents, plus the COVID ticket that comes with it.
Why? I have a curfew note. I have a letter of the SPVM allowed to be out. This is Sydney, the cameraman, one of our cameramen. So this is what it is to be out during the curfew in Montreal.
Again, they refused to acknowledge our journalist exemption letters. I received another $1,550 fine along with all my coworkers that night. To see how police handled themselves throughout that night and during the absolutely astounding follow-up event, which was their attempted boat raid and seizure of our entire news team in Quebec, go to raid.movie. The Montreal police were ruthless, and I ended up leaving Quebec with $3,100 in fines for reporting on the curfew, even though I had official exemption documentation from the government. I wouldn't have been able to fight these tickets alone, which is why I'm grateful to those of you who donated to help us cover these important stories at journalistdefensefund.com. We were able to hire a lawyer to fight for my innocence, and finally, after 2 years, it was time to face the judge. Forced to spend money to fly back to Quebec to testify in person, I got to see whether life had begun to return to Montreal.
And, well, right here where I'm standing is actually a place where I got a ticket because I was outside past curfew. But who is this cop to decide what an independent journalist is? Who is he to decide who should be out on the streets at night? But the legal system here is still pursuing these tickets.
In the courts, police tried to argue that there were no media events to cover, even though they have absolutely no right to do so. They accused us of being far right and not, quote, recognized media, and complained that we dare be outside without masks and standing too close to each other. Police thought us filming with cell phones gave them an excuse to bully us. And on top of that, they tried to make the outright hypocritical claim that we were there to provoke police into giving us thousands of dollars in tickets, when they themselves were harassing us. Our lawyer was strong in my defense, pointing to our massive Rebel News court win against the Federal Leaders Debates Commission, granting us access to ask leading politicians crucial questions the mainstream media wouldn't. Soon after attending the courts of Montreal, Justice White finally came to a decision. Quote, "The responsibility to determine who is a journalist and who is not, and how to report in accordance with the journalistic standards are not within the purview of this court." In several court decisions, the identification of Rebel News as media is not called into question. The court cannot therefore conclude, as the policeman said, that it is not a recognized media outlet. In our country, freedom of expression is protected by our laws, whether or not we agree with the opinions expressed. The court cannot conclude that Mr. Fizzard was not in the exercise of his journalistic functions during his arrest. The defendant is acquitted of the offenses charged. 2 years later, we finally beat the Montreal police and their politically motivated curfew tickets. Again, thanks to your generous donations at journalistdefensefund.com. But while prosecutors were trying to incriminate me for simply going outside at the wrong time, over 300 real criminal cases were either dropped or stayed entirely, leaving actual crime in Quebec going unpunished. For Rebel News, Sydney Fizzard. To check out our upcoming documentary on the boat raid we faced in Quebec, go to raid.movie.